On Friday, you guys did the metric Olympics, and for each one of the events, we had 5 events, you took 2 measurements. Now on Friday, you guys should have had time to take the average of those 2 measurements. To take the average, you're going to take both of those numbers. So we had 138.6 and we had 175.2. Now because we have 2 numbers, we're going to divide the sum of those numbers by the total amount of numbers. So we have 2, so we're going to divide it by 2. Now we add those together, our sum is 313.8. Divide that by 2, and that gives us an average of 156.9. And we know that this is in grams because it says that over here in the right-handed marble grab. So we scroll down to our next page. Well, you guys have paper pages, so you can't really scroll. And we're going to calculate our error. Now, we've talked about in experiments that not everything goes perfectly. There's always going to be some error. So I made my estimate on Thursday that I was going to grab 30 grams. My actual, which is really my average, so I'm going to write average so I remember, is 156.9. To get my error, I am going to subtract that actual from my estimate. So I will have 30 minus 156.9. Now take note of these little lines next to those 2 words up in the top where we have our formula. Those lines tell us we're taking the absolute value. If we're subtracting 156.9 from 30, we're going to get a negative number. But we can't work with that negative number. So we're going to make sure that that number is its absolute value, so it's going to be positive. Doing that math with my calculator, I know that is 126.9. To get my percent error, I'm going to take the estimate minus the actual, which is just our error, right? So we could write error. So my error, 126.9, and I'm going to divide that by my actual. So go back, our actual, our average, 156.9. And notice our parentheses, so we know that we have to do this before we do anything else. After I get that answer, I'm going to multiply that by 100 to get my percentage. So I'm going to do that math, and that gives me 0.80879541109, and I'm going to multiply that by 100. And I'm going to round that to my first decimal place. I know we went over the rules for rounding for all of our sig figs, but for this assignment, I want you to round to the first decimal place. So multiplying by 100, I just have to move my decimal point over 2. That will give me 80.87%. Now, my decimal place is here. I'm rounding to that first decimal place. We need to look at the number next to the number we're rounding. So next to that 8 is that 7. And we know if our number is greater than 5, we're going to round up. So that would give me an 80.9%. You guys are going to do this for every single event that you did. If you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to help you guys.